So something is shifting right now in the event industry, and I don't think enough people are paying attention to it. The clients are changing, the budgets are changing, and the way a client buys is also changing. And if your business looks the exact same way as it did 2 years ago, that's not stability to adapt to the current economy. So here's what I want to talk about today: pivoting your business. And that is not, it's not dramatic, blow it all up, thinking negative, starting from scratch kind of way. I'm talking about the strategic, the intentional kind of pivot that happens when you're paying attention to what the market is telling you. A lot of us are feeling it right now. Inquiries look different than they did a year ago or even 3 years ago. Clients are asking different questions, budgets are shifting. It doesn't matter if you're in the private sector or you're working with corporate clients. The way people feel about you, the way that they decide to book you, the way they spend money, it's all moving. And if you're an event professional who's been doing this for a few years or like myself over a decade, you can feel it. Like something is off and something is different. And that is not a bad thing. That's actually information. That's the market talking to you. The question is, are you listening? And most importantly, do you know what to do with the information that you're receiving? By the end of this episode, I'm going to walk you through 3 real ways to pivot your business when you see the signs that change is coming. Not panic moves, not throwing in the towel, not trend chasing. Smart, grounded pivots that keep you profitable and positioned for what's next. For the past year, I've been noticing some things have been changing, even within my own corporate business, because my clients are being impacted by consumer actions. In addition, I'm also starting to hear it from other event pros across the board, from photographers, videographers, planners, florists, caterers, all of the different things. And a lot of conversations are around how things are different. In fact, I've even noticed it on social media. People complaining about how expensive all of our services are because they don't understand how our businesses are being impacted by a lot of the economic changes that are occurring. So what's happening is that couples are spending different. It's not that the budgets are disappearing or that they won't spend money. It's just that there's a shift, and it really depends on where you are in your actual client market. So by no means am I saying that people are not spending money. People are willing to spend big on experience and the aesthetic for hosting events, but they are cutting down on some of the things in which they would be actively spending on just so that things can fit into their budget. Some of the changes can be on having their guest list smaller because of how much it's going to cost per person to be able to accommodate everybody. So the full service planner is getting replaced with the day of coordinator, and often Pinterest boards and people doing their own DIY decoration. You may even be running into booking cycles are longer and less predictable. And with it being a longer time frame, there are potentially can run into issues where the pricing that you originally have provided could possibly be a different price by inflation and tariffs. Some people are having to book last minute, and you're having people price shopping more just to see what's going to be the best cost for them. And then that might be impacting how many people are ghosting you in the inquiry process if they are shopping around. So that's not just your business if it's happening to you. This is just something that is a market pattern as of right now. And if you've been in business for over 5 to 10 years, we all know that there's always going to be ebbs and flows in the economy. And for those of you that are listening that are newer in business, do not necessarily get freaked out, because every 10 years, typically, there's going to be big economic changes that are occurring that can either be recession-like or a recession or something of the nature of or something that might be a little bit more extreme of a recession. It's just important to know where we are right now as an economy if you're in the United States and you're listening to this. So if you're like me and you do corporate events, those are even shifting. Companies are really pulling back on the big splashy galas and leaning into more smaller, more frequent brand activations or intentional activities, that changes the math for vendors when you're specifically used to having a model that was based on quantity. That is changing. Even for myself, with my kind of client, a good amount of them had to cut back their budgets because of how they are being impacted with their own finances. And when I say this, it's not personal, it just comes down to money. And it's all about asset management at the end of the day. And I always say, take your emotions out of this. If you're a CEO, an entrepreneur, we will face these seasons and they will always be shifts. It just comes down to how you are going to adapt to it. And another thing people are facing too is just the visibility game. How to get seen. How do people find you? How people find you is changing fast. SEO still matters, but social proof, short form video, and referrals through platforms like Instagram and TikTok is driving more firsthand discovery than websites ever did, depending on how well your website or Google platforms are optimized. The plot twist of it too is that with those social platforms, things are consistently changing as well for visibility, which can almost feel very frustrating, specifically for those of you that are solely relying on social media and these changes are impacting how many people find you. So the point isn't that the sky is falling. The point is that the ground is just shifting. And business owners who see it early and adjust, they're the ones who are able to come out on the other side. So that's my intention with this conversation today, because you have possibly felt that there's a shift. And when you feel the shift and you don't know what kind of move to make, you find yourself either freezing or just keep doing the same thing, hoping that things will change. Or you'll find yourself panicking and making a reactive decision that doesn't actually solve the problem. What I want to give you today are 3 intentional pivots. These aren't random. They are strategic, and any one of them could be the move that changes everything for you and your business. And in fact, I have done one of these myself. So the first pivot is one that most people never consider and is probably the most powerful one, and that's pivoting who you're serving. So here's what I mean. A lot of us build our business serving a specific type of client. For example, so for wedding pros that decided to do mid-range pricing for couples in your city, or for event designers, maybe it was focusing on local nonprofits doing annual fundraisers. Whatever it is, you built your brand and business based off of one specific client, pricing, and your whole operation was based on this specific person. But what happens when people stop spending money with you that are in that market? What happens when those couples looking for mid-range pricing are now budget couples? What happens when the nonprofit galas turn into small experiences? What do you do then? So most people, their instinct is just to lower their prices or hustle harder to be able to get the same amount of clients for a less price. But what if the smarter move was to look into who is spending right now and serve them instead? Because you've built up a really great skill set and experience with what you do, but there might be people that are looking for your service in your market that's willing to pay your price. I'm not talking about completely throwing away anyone that's currently working with you, but I'm just suggesting for you to possibly open your eyes a little bit more to see how you can use your skills for someone else to be able to help offset what may be changing with your current finances. Based on some of the trends that I've been seeing in the event industry, there's growth in corporate brand activations, experiential marketing, micro luxury weddings, which is all about smaller, intimate activities and special moments. Of course, we're having a growth in destination events, content creator based events, and launches. And these segments are spending money today. So how are you able to serve that demographic? And by doing this strategically, it's not just forgetting about who you currently serve. If you really analyze the market and see the direction where the industry is going in your specific area. It can be just being strategic and starting to create a bridge so that you can start serving the new demographic that you're wanting to serve. So you're not jeopardizing any of your existing relationships or your current reputation in your area, but it will allow for you to open up how people see your business today. But it will open up how people that you haven't been working with can see how you solve their problems today. So you can start creating content that speaks to this new audience. You can start networking in rooms that you haven't been in before. You can adjust your portfolio to show what kind of work you do so you can attract new clients, not the clients you've already had. And the hardest part about this pivot is it is an emotional shift. I understand that. It feels like you're betraying your original audience and who you served, and it feels scary to leave what's familiar. I understand that 1000%. But staying with a loyal market that's changing and shifting and shrinking its loyalty, it's really avoiding what is occurring. I've seen where some event pros have completely transformed their revenue and business model by making this one shift. In fact, this is what I implemented inside of my own business. And I'm allowing myself over 2026 to embrace this journey as I am pivoting along the way because I get a chance to use my same skills, my same talent, the same years of experience, but I'm just using it in different rooms. And that's the thing about pivoting your audience. You don't have to become a different business. You just have to show up in front of a different group of people. Now, pivoting your audience is a big move. I understand that. But sometimes the shift you need isn't about who you're serving. It's about how you're showing up to the people who are already looking for you. And that brings me to the pivot number 2, which is all about pivoting your position. And this one is sneaky because it doesn't feel like it's a pivot. You're not changing your service. You're not changing your price. You're not changing the story you tell about what you do. And that changes everything. Here's what I mean. A lot of event pros are still marketing themselves the way they did 3 or 4 years ago. Full service wedding planning, a luxury floral design, premium DJ services. Those descriptions aren't wrong, but they're not connecting the way they used to depending on the area you are and who you serve. You might be wondering why. Because what clients care about has actually shifted. They're not buying full service planning the way that they used to. They're buying peace of mind. They're buying the ease of making their day special. They're not buying luxury florals. They're buying an experience that their guests will remember. They're not buying your title. They're buying the outcome. I've spoken about this plenty of times when I've referenced Building a Story Brand by Donald Miller because he talks about that often. It's been plenty of times where people have said, I just do this. I'm like, but even as an event professional, you solve problems. So the pivot here is to reframe your offer around what the client actually values right now. And right now, here's what I'm seeing clients value the most: stress reduction. They want someone who makes it easier for them. ROI, especially corporate. They want to know how their money is being used and the results that they're getting from their events. Uniqueness. They don't want the same wedding as anyone else. They want something that's going to make them stand out from other people. And trust. They want proof that you can deliver on your services, not just a pretty website. So what does that look like practically? It means your Instagram bio changes from award-winning event planner to I make sure your wedding day runs as smoothly so that you can actually enjoy it. It means your inquiry response doesn't just lead with your packages. It leads with the problem you solve and how you want your clients to feel. It means your website copy talks about them so that they are connecting with you. So you can talk about the slight changes like case studies instead of just only showing portfolios. Instead of just thinking about pretty pictures tell the story, use your words to actually tell the story and using the imagery to support how you want your client to feel. And that is positioning. because with proof, you will always get sales. The best thing about this pivot is that it costs you absolutely nothing. No new skills, no new services, no new audience, just a new lens on how you're communicating to your clientele. And we're focusing on communicating our value. And I've seen where this single shift has been able to double income when done correctly. So positioning is the most underrated pivot in business because most of us think if the work is good, the work speaks for itself. And I wish that were true, especially in 2026. But the market is way too noisy. Too many things are fighting for your client's attention. And honestly, your clients have options. And the business that wins isn't always the one that's the most talented. It's the one that makes the client feel understood and they see the value. Now, those first two pivots, shifting your audience and shifting your position, those are adjustments. They're powerful, but they're working with your current business model. The third pivot is different. It's bigger, it's scarier, and for some of you, it might be exactly what you need to hear, which is all about pivoting your entire business model. This one is the one no one wants to talk about because we can attach that if we're doing this, that we failed. It's the pivot where you step back and ask, is this even the right business for where I'm going? And I'm not talking about quitting. I'm talking about evolving because here's the truth. A lot of experienced event pros are sitting quietly. You might have outgrown your business model. The thing that got you here might not be the thing that's going to keep you here. This is no different than what happened to Blockbusters. I loved going to Blockbuster, but they did not shift with the time. And this is why I'm having this conversation with you today, because having to pivot your business model, it does not reflect that you're quitting your business by no means. So what does this look like? It looks like the wedding planner who's realizing she doesn't want to do 30 weddings a year anymore. She wants to consult, teach, or mentor new planners. It looks like the photographer who tries shooting every weekend and starts licensing her work or selling education. It looks like the florist who moves from custom event florals to subscription model. If you're not aware, the skills you built running your event business are wildly transferable into other business models. Everything from project management, client communication, vendor negotiation and management, budget management. Those skills are very valuable beyond the event industry, and they're definitely valuable in new formats within the industry. And I've even shared my own journey and testimony about how I've even decided that I wanted to start exploring options outside of the event industry because I know that there's a big demand within project management. In fact, I'm starting to see this online. You're starting to see more people integrating digital products and courses for event pros because now they're trying to teach people compared to doing them. Well, I guess that's even this podcast too, if I had to be honest, because I want to help people. I've learned a lot of things over these years. So I'm trying to help other individuals with being able to navigate through their business. But people are looking into offering consulting and mentorship, looking into ways to integrate affiliate and partnership income into their business models, as well as you're starting to see a good amount of event pros getting into just doing content creation to be able to make money from their online presence. And the reason behind that is because hybrid models do allow for you to keep the number of bookings you're doing smaller while you're not impacting how much income you're bringing into because you're able to monetize your expertise. But let's talk about the elephant in the room. The fear with this pivot is all about your identity. But I'm an event planner. That's who I am. That's what I do. I remember my business coach saying that to me over 5 years ago because I only was seeing myself as one thing. and not who I could be and how I could serve my greater community and just the world. Until I was able to shift how I saw myself, I wasn't able to step into all of the other great things that I have been able to accomplish since then. So I get it, but you are not your business model. You are the skills, the experience, the perspective, the relationships you built over the years. A new model doesn't erase any of that. It just leverages it. And I know this does not just happen overnight. This is something that you can transition over 6 to 12 months, not a Monday morning decision. But it starts with just giving yourself the permission to be curious, permission to ask the question, permission to explore, permission to admit that what you've been doing, even though it's been successful, might not be what you want, might not be what you want to keep doing forever. I think the bravest thing an entrepreneur can do is look at a business that's working and ask, is this working for me? Because that's what hustle free means. Not just building a profitable business, building one that actually fits the life you want. So here's what I want you to take from this conversation today. The market is always talking, always changing. The question is whether you're listening and whether you're going to have the courage to respond. Pivoting is not a failure. Pivoting is not admitting that you got it wrong. Pivoting is what smart business owners do when they pay attention to the data that is in front of them instead of their ego. Whether you need to shift who you're serving, change how you're showing up, or completely reimagine what your business looks like, that's not starting over. That's leveling up and that's evolving. That's you choosing to lead your business instead of letting the market drag you along. If nothing else lands today, let this sit with you. So if you're listening to this and you're feeling that nudge, like maybe one of these pivot conversations you've been avoiding, start with the After Yes checklist in the show notes. It's free and it'll help you see exactly where your business stands right now so that you can make the next move from a clear, honest place. If this episode has hit for you, send this to one Event Pro friend who needs to hear it. Sometimes the nudge needs to come from a friend. I'll talk to you next week.